Hey, welcome to the Press Box Chronicles with Jeff Pearlman. Welcome to the Press Box Chronicles with Jeff Pearlman, the show where a cranky middle-aged sports writer, that is definitely me, who has seen it all, takes you behind the scenes and into the stories. I am your host, Jeff Pearlman. And today, we're talking about a third rail topic. And what I mean by a third rail topic, it's a topic where I know, and maybe you can even save your breath. Some of you are going to be like, oh, you're just a triggered, blah, 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 blah. Like, I get it. Okay, I get it. You don't have to put in the comments. I get it. I hear you. Today, I'm going to talk about my favorite sports league of all time, the United States Football League, and the man who fucked it up, your president and mine, Donald Trump. And I'm going to actually start this in a very untraditional way by reading my favorite letter that's ever been written. And it is right here. And if you look, it is on Tampa Bay Bandits letterhead. This is dated August 16th, 1984. And it was written by a man named John Bassett, who at the time was the owner of the Tampa Bay Bandits of the United States Football League. And for those of you too young to know or who might not remember, just don't follow football, the USFL was a football league that came along in 1983. It lasted for 3 seasons, and it was a spring football league that challenged the NFL for football royalty and football dominance, and had a really interesting run. And one of the owners was a man named Donald Trump. And this letter was written on August 16th, 1984, and I'm going to read it to you. And it says, "Dear Donald, on a number of occasions over the past meetings, I have listened with astonishment at your personal abuse of the commissioner and various of your partners if they did not happen to espouse one of your causes or agree with one of your arguments. It is obvious from the record that you are a talented and successful young man. It is also a fact that I regard you as a friend and an owner who has made a contribution to the league in general and been a savior to New York, New Jersey in particular. While others may be able to let your insensitive and denigrating comments pass, I no longer will." This is where it gets good. "You are bigger, younger, and stronger than I, which means I'll have no regrets whatsoever punching you right in the mouth the next time an instance occurs where you personally scorn me or anyone else who does not happen to salute and dance to your tune. I really hope you don't know that you're doing it, but you are not only damaging yourself with your associates, but alienating them as well. Think before you shoot, and when you do fire, stick to the message without killing the messenger. Kindest personal regards, John F. Bassett." And that is what you called a badass motherfucking letter. And that was a letter that one of the owners wrote to Donald Trump.
USFL, football for a buck, just another dream Donald Trump screwed up. The United States Football League, drugs, egos, money, greed, the truth.
There's this league, the USFL. It starts in 1983. It's a spring football league. The original plan is we're going to find unique markets, and we'll be in some NFL cities, some unique markets. We're going to focus on bringing in college players who we can sign, big name college players, and also get NFL cast-offs. And the first season is a really good success. You have a team in Philadelphia called the Stars that has a very young and unwanted Sam Mills starring a middle linebacker. You have the New Jersey Generals with Herschel Walker, the legendary Georgia running back who came out early, and at the time the NFL wouldn't allow it, so he went to the USFL. You have the Michigan Panthers with a young quarterback nobody in the NFL was interested in, named Bobby Hebert, and a wide receiver from Michigan named Anthony Carter. You have Craig James of SMU playing halfback for the Washington Federals. You just have a lot of good players and a really good spring week. And that first season goes well. Ratings are good. Attendance figures are good. They definitely have issues, but they're issues that are solvable. And one problem is there's a team in New Jersey, the New Jersey Generals, with their star Herschel Walker, and they're not very good. And their owner is a guy named J. Walter Duncan. And J. Walter Duncan is an oil man out of Oklahoma. And he didn't really want a team in New Jersey. He wanted to be involved with the league, didn't want a team in New Jersey. It was the only team available. He bought the team, but then he got tired of owning a team in New Jersey. And he puts it up for sale. And who comes along and says, I will buy that team? But Donald Trump. When Donald Trump buys the New Jersey Generals, he pays $10 million for the franchise. And he talks about what a great deal it is, and there are all these bidders, and I made the smartest move. He paid $1.5 million than anyone else was offering. And there weren't even that many other offers. It was bluster. He basically got duped and paid more than he should have. And he buys this team. And everyone's psyched with the USFL. Look at this. We have an owner. He's based in New York, New Jersey. He's Donald Trump, Trump Tower, Trump casinos, hotels. This is a guy with money who wants to be an owner in our league, and he gets publicity. This is wonderful. This is the greatest thing ever. And he holds a press conference. And the first real sign that there's a problem here is he holds a press conference. And I interviewed the guy who organized the press conference for him. And keep in mind, this is 40 years ago. He charged him, I think, $1,000 in advance and $1,000 after. And the press conference goes off very well. And he got the $1,000 in advance. And he submitted a bill for the $1,000 afterwards. And he never got paid. And he submitted again, and he never got paid. And he submitted again, and he never got paid. And finally, he got Donald Trump on the phone. And Donald Trump said, if you want to get paid, you're just going to have to sue me, or you're going to have to deal with it. And the guy was like, well, I can't sue him. And he never got paid. And that was a bad sign. And that was Trump. And he buys this team, and everyone thinks he's a savior. And he spends money. He's putting money into this team. He signs a shitload of guys from the NFL. He signs chief safety Gary Barbaro. He signs Brian Sipe, former NFL MVP quarterback from the Cleveland Browns. He makes an offer for Lawrence Taylor, the Giants linebacker, and actually signs him to a futures contract, like all kinds of stuff. And people are like, wow, 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 this is amazing. This is great. He's putting money in. This is amazing. This is great. Attention. But on the side, one day, Donald Trump calls the NFL commissioner, Pete Rozelle, and he says, would you be willing to meet me in private to talk? And Pete Rozelle knows who Donald Trump is. He knows his reputation as kind of a scumbag. But he's like, yeah, of course, because Donald Trump owned a team in the rival league. And Donald Trump rents out a suite at the Pierre Hotel. And there are 3 people at this meeting. There's Pete Rozelle, the NFL commissioner. There's Donald Trump, owner of the New Jersey Generals, and one other guy who I interviewed for my book. I wrote a book about the USFL called Football for a Buck. And I interviewed the 3rd guy at the meeting. And this meeting was never discussed before. And here's what happened. Donald Trump meets with Pete Rozelle. Pete Rozelle says, what do you want? Why am I here? Donald Trump says, I want an NFL franchise. I want my team in the NFL. And Pete Rozelle says, well, that's not going to happen. And Donald Trump says, not in these exact words, but this is the offer he makes. I will throw this shitty league under the bus and make sure it fails if you give me an NFL franchise. And Pete Rozelle is no dummy. He's been around. He's savvy. He's smart. He knows that Donald Trump once made a half-baked bullshit offer to buy the Colts from the Irsay family. He knows Donald Trump's reputation for not paying vendors. He knows Donald Trump's reputation as a sleazebag, scumbag, full of shit asshole. And he says to Donald Trump, as long as I'm involved in the NFL, as long as my heirs are involved in the NFL, you will never have anything to do with this league. And he leaves. And Donald Trump is f***ing pissed. And he devotes the rest of his time to getting back at the NFL and doing everything he can to undercut all the hard work his colleagues with the USFL are working for.
Greed, the truth, why Trump hates the NFL. He's a racist and a bigot and his tickets wouldn't sell. A POTUS that can't even spell. A story so absurd, that's the USFL.
All right, so it's 1984. It is the 2nd season of the USFL. It is Donald Trump's first season owning the New Jersey Generals. And the league is awesome. Like awesome. I remember being a kid and the USFL was just everything for me. It was the helmets. You had the Jacksonville Bulls and the San Antonio Gunslingers and the Pittsburgh Maulers and the LA Express and the Oklahoma Outlaws. And they were starting to attract big names. Doug Williams, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterback, felt unwanted by the Bucs and their racist owner, Hugh Culverhouse. He jumps to the Oklahoma Outlaws. You have Tim Spencer, running back out of Ohio State with the Chicago Blitz. Jim Kelly is the quarterback of the Houston Gamblers, and he's running a 5-wide receiver, no running back, no tight end offense. He's just throwing the ball all over the field. You have Steve Young out of BYU, who is going to be the first pick in the NFL draft, deciding to play with the LA Express. This league is kicking ass. And are there problems? Yes, there are a lot of problems. Number one, weather. Spring football has its issues with weather. It rains a lot in some markets. So you have these games. The Birmingham Stallions famously played a game in just a cake of mud. The Jacksonville Bulls, it rains a lot in Florida in the spring. Rain. You have a team in Arizona, the Wranglers, and they play with bleachers, metal bleachers, Sun Devil Stadium, and it's 110 degrees and people are burning their asses off and their skin is peeling. Those are the negatives. But the league is inventive and fun and cool. And it's the league that started the 2-point conversion. It's the league that started the coach's challenge. It was everything. It was a league that gave black quarterbacks a chance when the NFL wasn't doing it. When the NFL was taking black quarterbacks and converting them to wide receiver, you should be a running back. The USFL was allowing black quarterbacks to play quarterback. It was this league. It was. And Donald Trump is now the owner of the Generals. And on the one hand, he's a great owner. Sincerely, on the one hand, if you are a player for the Generals, this is your guy. He treats you well. He plays you well. You're treated like an NFL player. You're flown charter. You're staying in nice hotels. But at the same time, he's shady. Again, his confidant, his guide, his guru, his sidekick is this attorney, Roy Cohen, this notoriously devious and deceptive and lying and never admit you're wrong, never show weakness. Those are the lessons of Roy Cohen that Donald Trump takes. And at owner meetings, Donald Trump starts floating the idea to the other USFL owners, we should move to fall. We should move to fall. And the other owners are initially like, why would we move to fall? This is going well. We're actually doing well. Why are we going to challenge the NFL directly? And Donald Trump's like, listen, fall is where the football is. Fall is when people want to watch this game. We can go head to head with the NFL. We can beat the NFL. And the other owners are like, yeah, but that doesn't really make sense. And he's like, I'm telling you. And Donald Trump had a lot of power in this league from the beginning because the USFL had a TV deal with ABC and ESPN. And it was contingent in part on the league having a New York, New Jersey franchise. No New York, New Jersey franchise, no New York, New Jersey television market, no deal. So Trump carries a lot of weight. And he says to the other owners, can I at least talk to the different TV executives and see what they think about us moving to fall, the possibility of the USFL in the fall? They're like, yeah, all right, Donald, go ahead. And Trump comes back and he says, I talked with NBC, I talked with ABC, I talked with CBS, and they all think fall is a good idea. And they all think we should do it. And a lot of the owners are like, really? And he's like, no, I'm telling you, yes. And it was a lie. It was a total and complete lie. He met with all three networks. All three networks told him this is a horrible idea. You're going to get crushed by the NFL. Don't do it. But Donald Trump had this idea in his head. We need to challenge the NFL. The reason he wanted to challenge the NFL is we challenge the NFL, we go head to head against them. They're going to want to settle. They'll absorb a bunch of our teams. One of the teams will be my team, the New Jersey Generals. And the plan was the New York Jets had moved to New Jersey. The Giants were playing in New Jersey. Donald Trump would have his team play at Shea Stadium in Queens until they build a stadium in Manhattan where he will have the New York Generals of the NFL. That was Donald Trump's plan, his master plan. And none of the other owners saw it. And the 1984 season is going pretty well. And the Generals are a good team. They don't win the championship, but they go pretty far. But by now, the heat is on. Donald Trump is all about, we're moving to fall. The other owners start saying, well, maybe we should move to fall. Maybe Donald knows what he's talking about. He is a successful businessman. He is in New York. He's on the media, in the media all the time. Maybe we should move to fall. And there's one moment that happens that season. And I feel like it's a moment where the other owners could have waken up to what was going on here. And I don't know why it didn't happen, but Donald Trump really wants Don Shula, the legendary Miami Dolphins coach, to become the head coach of the New Jersey Generals. And he's negotiating with Don Shula. And he's negotiating, it's going back and forth. And Donald Trump, who never met a camera he did not like, goes on TV during a broadcast of an NFL game, and he's interviewed about Don Shula. And he says, yeah, I really wanted to hire Coach Shula, and we offered him a lot of money, but he insisted that he be given a suite in Trump Tower, and I just wasn't willing to do that.
How high has his price escalated?
Well, we've been talking about various numbers. One of the little obstacles is he'd like an apartment in a building that I have on Fifth Avenue called Trump Tower.
And he says that on national TV. And after the Dolphins game that day, someone asked Don Shula about what Donald Trump said. And Don Shula says, I don't know what he's talking about. I never said that. Like, he's lying. He's literally lying. He's making this up.
He mentioned that I was on the verge of agreeing to an offer, and all he had to do was agree to the things that I wanted, a condominium on Fifth Avenue. But I guarantee you it wasn't down to that.
And they never wound up getting Don Shula. And Don Shula, who is known as a man of integrity, is literally telling you, this guy's full of shit. This guy's not telling you the truth. And the other owners, I don't think, wanted to listen. And what happens next is the downfall of the USFL because of one man.
A league full of winners remembered for lack of liquidity, when in reality it was all your stupidity. A bunch of misfits, this fits perfectly well. Herschel Walker, Doug Flutie, and some names ring a bell.
So in the lead up to the 1985 USFL season, Donald Trump made a major football splash. He signed for the New Jersey Generals the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Doug Flutie, out of Boston College. And to show you how big of a deal the USFL was and how big of a threat the USFL was to the NFL, Doug Flutie was the third straight Heisman Trophy winner to join the league. You had Herschel Walker, you had Mike Rozier out of Nebraska, and now you had Doug Flutie. And Donald Trump signed Doug Flutie to the biggest contract in football history. And it was all over the news and it was everywhere and it was a huge splash. And Donald Trump is like, this is a game changer for the league and for football. And we're running this show now and blah, blah, blah. And I have here letter number 2 in my letter odyssey, and it is dated March 11th, 1985. And this is a letter Donald Trump wrote to the commissioner of the USFL. His name was Harry Usher. And the letter was also sent to the different owners in the league. And he wrote, "Dear Harry, as you are aware, and as I announced at our owners meeting prior to signing Doug Flutie, I would come back and ask the owners to bear some of the costs of Doug's contract. I did not need Doug as a player, but I felt the league desperately needed someone or something fast. At that point in time, if you can remember, the perception of the league was at an all-time low. Doug Flutie's signing has given us a new and vital life, causes excellent television ratings when he is on, and opened up an additional 21% of the affiliates to ABC. As an example, all of New England now telecasts the USFL, when in fact they had previously canceled. This was a move calculated for the league and not for the Generals. As it turns out, it was more successful than even our wildest expectations. Everyone is now benefiting from Doug Flutie. I would appreciate you putting on the next agenda the allocation of Doug Flutie's costs to each team. The money will be returned when he plays at away games and fills additional seats. Thank you for your attention to this matter. With best wishes, Donald Trump." And everything about this letter is bullshit. Everything about this letter is bullshit. And when I wrote my book about the USFL, it was at the same time Donald Trump was talking about the Mexican Wall. This is when he was running for his first presidency. And the Mexican Wall. And we're going to build the wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. And I've always said Doug Flutie was the Mexico Wall before there was a Mexico Wall. Basically, Donald Trump told his people, we're going to sign Doug Flutie, but all the other owners are going to pay his salary. And when the other owners got this letter, the collective response was this to Donald Trump: fuck you. We're not paying for your player's salary. That's ridiculous. The other thing is, Doug Flutie wasn't that good. So Donald Trump signs Doug Flutie. At best, Doug Flutie was going to be a 5th round NFL draft pick. He was too small. He couldn't see over offensive linemen. He was not a major prospect. His head coach, Walt Michaels, was begging Donald Trump to sign Randall Cunningham out of UNLV. But Trump is like, no, Flutie. So they sign Flutie. He writes this letter. He tells the other owners they should help pay. They all say, go fuck yourself. Around the same time, Donald Trump is doing something really interesting, which is he has an assistant, a spokesperson, who calls the different newspapers on his behalf. And his name is John Barron. And John Barron works for the Generals, works for Mr. Trump. And he calls to talk about the league. And John Barron will call the Daily News. He'll call the New York Post. He'll call the New York Times. And he'll say, I just want to give you guys a heads up. Donald Trump, Mr. Trump is really planning a big push to fall. Or, hey, it's John Barron. I just want to let you guys know Mr. Trump is going to be holding a press conference later today about how all the TV networks are really interested in the USFL. Or, hey, guys, it's John Barron from Donald Trump's office. Mr. Trump wants you to know blank. John Barron was Donald Trump disguising his voice. John Barron literally was Donald Trump disguising his voice, pretending to be Donald Trump's PR guy. It was all just bullshit. In 1985, Donald Trump convinces the other USFL owners that we should take on the NFL. We're going to move to fall. They literally hire an outside agency to do an analysis of the plan. The woman comes back, holds a meeting with all the owners, including Donald Trump, and says, this is a horrible idea. This will kill your league. And Donald Trump, the woman leaves, and Donald Trump says, that bitch doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. We need to move to fall. We need to take on the NFL. And a huge part of his plan is we're going to file a lawsuit against the NFL, a $1.69 billion antitrust lawsuit against the NFL. And the idea of the lawsuit is the NFL has monopolized TV in the fall for sports, and we don't have a chance. And we're going to sue them. We're going to win. We're going to have all this money. And Donald Trump's idea in his brain is they're going to have to absorb some of our teams. And of course, they will absorb the New Jersey Generals and make us the New York Generals. This is all part of his crazy plan. And they file this lawsuit in New York City. And it's interesting because one of the owners in the USFL is based out of Houston, Texas. His name is Jerry Argovitz. And Jerry Argovitz begs Donald Trump not to file this case in New York, but to do it in Texas. He's like, Texas will be a much more sympathetic place for us. Texas, the courts tend to side with blah, 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 underdogs. And Trump is like, no, it has to be in New York. This is my city. I know how it's going to go. And they file this lawsuit. And this is 1985. The final USFL season has happened. The USFL has played what it says is its final spring game. We're moving to fall. And here's this lawsuit. We're suing the NFL. And they have this lawsuit. And it's in court in New York City. And the USFL has plans. We're going to call all these different players. We're going to call all these different experts. And they hire an attorney named Harvey Meyerson, who is known as a loudmouth, in-your-face, impossible to deal with, terribly unlikable attorney, because Donald Trump says, this is our guy. And Donald Trump says, I don't think we need that many witnesses. I know who the main witness should be. Me, Donald Trump. And Donald Trump actually serves in this trial, in the antitrust trial, as the main witness for the USFL against the NFL. And I interviewed one of the women who was on, for my book, one of the women who was a juror. And she told me she's never in her life been in a more unlikable presence than Donald Trump. That Donald Trump would try intimidating the jurors, that Donald Trump would stare down the jurors, that he was just an asshole. And the whole trial, he's an asshole. And the funny thing is, the USFL actually had an argument to be made. The NFL did monopolize fall football. There was no room for another league to come along and have TV. And this whole court case goes along, and this court case is captivating America. It is the biggest court case in America. And people are wondering what's going to happen, who's going to win, blah, blah, blah. Donald Trump versus the NFL. And Donald Trump is convinced we're going to win. He is convinced, he has no doubt in his mind, I'm a winner, they are losers. This league is going to absorb my team, and I'm going to be the owner of an NFL team. And the truth of the matter is, for those of you who don't like Donald Trump as president, if he had won this case, he probably would have just owned his NFL team and never become president. The case happens. It goes over 40-something days. And the jury meets. And it's a fascinating, fascinating moment. They meet, and they come out, and they announce their decision. And their decision is, yes, the NFL has a monopoly. Yes, the NFL has deliberately tried to kill the USFL. Yes, the NFL has treated this league unfairly. Count after count after count after count. We agree with the USFL. And Pete Rozelle, the NFL commissioner, is sitting in court, and he walks out early during the jurors' expressing of their deliberations, gets a cab because he knows he lost. And he's like, what do we do next? And they go over the counts, USFL 1, USFL 1, USFL 1. And Donald Trump is in the courtroom sitting next to the owner of the New York Giants. It's being read, it's being read, it's being read. And then the jury announces, we are awarding the NFL $1, which is treble to 3 under antitrust laws. And just like, $1. And the reason is, the USFL was fucked over by the NFL. The NFL plotted to kill the USFL. There was a monopoly. But ultimately, the USFL was its own worst enemy. And ultimately, the USFL did the most damage to itself. And ultimately, the guy who fucked over the USFL, the guy who led them to this point, the guy who undermined what was a good league, the guy who undermined a really smart spring football plan, the guy who did not give two shits about this league he was a part of, the guy who met with Pete Rozelle and said, I will basically give you whatever you want and fuck all these people. That guy, Donald Trump, ruined this league. And the reason you're not winning this lawsuit is because of him. And in that moment, the USFL was over and the NFL was free. And Donald Trump walked out of that courtroom a little mad, a little upset, wiped his hands of it, and never thought about the USFL again. And the USFL, hundreds and hundreds of football players who were living their dreams never played again. Hundreds and hundreds of front office employees were laid off. Dreams crushed, goals demolished, aspirations killed. And he did not give one shit about it. He just walked off. And years later, the great filmmaker Mike Tollin did a 30 for 30 called Small Potatoes. And Donald Trump dismissed the USFL as small potatoes. Basically, it was a small potatoes. But it wasn't small potatoes for all those people who love the league like myself, and all those people who played in the league. And the number one reason it died is because of John Barron, AKA Donald Trump. That's a wrap for this episode of Press Box Chronicles with Jeff Pearlman. Please leave a comment below on what stories you'd like to hear more about, or if there's a particular sports figure you're interested in, let me know. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Follow me on TikTok at Jeff Pearlman Author and on Bluesky at Jeff Pearlman. Thank you so much for diving behind the scenes and digging into the story. We will see you next time on Press Box Chronicles.